Right, today we're going to look at some revision for the GCSE PE Edexcel Paper 1, and we're going to focus on fitness classes. So this area tends to come up on the specification under fitness methods of training. So things like circuit training and plyometrics and resistance training. But there is a little bit on those questions about fitness classes, and it tends to get overlooked because one, there isn't much area of previous exam questions. It's rarely asked, and if it is asked, it's not too detailed. The types of things you need to know about, but it's something that people tend to forget to revise. So let's have a quick 5-10 minute revision on this area. So the main classes that you need to know about are Pilates, body pump, spinning, yoga, and aerobics. And once you sort of have an understanding of each of them, you need to try and apply them to a specified sporting example. So the exam questions will be based around a particular named sports performer, so i.e. a cyclist or a runner, or they'll give you a scenario and they'll ask you which fitness class is best suited to improve the performance of that named performer. So that's something you have to think about and consider the requirements of the sport, and which of these classes are best suited to that individual. So let's start off with Pilates. And they may give you a little image like this to help you out with it. But basically, we can break it down into three main areas when we're talking about describing the fitness class. So what is the focus of the fitness class? What's the goal of that fitness class? What's it trying to improve? And then how that would impact on the performance or the performer, and then how that would translate to their performance. Okay, so if we take Pilates, the key thing with Pilates it improves core strength, they call it. Now, core strength isn't on the spec. They don't talk about core strength on the spec as one of the components of fitness, but when they talk about Pilates, they say it improves your core strength. So if you've improved your core strength, the abdominals and your internal muscles around your trunk and your back muscles and your stomach muscles and internally, we then need to say, well, that improves your posture. Okay, so having a better core will help you maintain a better posture, and that could relate to cycling, running, and all number of sports. And once you've got a better posture, then it means your movement patterns become more efficient. So if it was a cycling example, you would be able to maintain a better position on the bike and making your cycling performance more efficient. And basically, you just need to substitute those sort of practical examples around, but sort of keeping those core elements, so core strength, maintain posture, and improve your efficiency of performance. Now, linked to maintaining posture and core strength, we could bring in elements that Pilates could improve your muscular endurance. And occasionally you might need to identify what equipment you need. So try and think about, in all of these examples of different activities, that you'll need various bits of equipment. So for example, in Pilates, it's generally a mat, and the occasional exercise might require resistance bands. Now, body pump is an area that is asked probably the most. And in this sense, they will obviously show you, there's a picture of what body pump is. And if you don't know what body pump is, I would suggest you quickly search body pump. It's actually a trademark thing by Les Mills. But if you search body pump, it'll come up and show you. And it's essentially using step boxes, using weights. And it's like an hour-long activity group class that they do to music. And it's generally focused on muscular endurance, so the focus tends to be improving muscular endurance. It does have elements of strength in there, and it does have elements of aerobic endurance, but the main focus will be strength and muscular endurance. So now, again, when we're looking at any times in any exam question, when you talk about muscular endurance or even cardiovascular endurance, why are we trying to improve it? And the impact on the performer is that it helps them sustain their action for a duration. So if it was a cyclist, again, they can keep pedaling for the duration of the event, the race. If it was a footballer, they could keep running up and down the pitch for the 90 minutes of the game. And then this is a typical sort of answer for any sort of link to if you can sustain your duration. You can run harder for longer and maintain your pace for longer, resist fatigue. So these are common sort of answers, not necessarily linked to fitness classes. They could link to why is it important to improve your cardiovascular endurance, why is it important to have more red blood cells, and these sort of points are sort of like your go-to answers. So make sure you get an idea of these. Now, as I say, body pump is probably the one that's asked the most, and they say, well, why is it important? And then the second types of questions is what type of equipment was used, when typically it's weights, and therefore it is an element of resistance training. So why might an athlete use body pump? Because it is a form of resistance training, it will therefore improve their strength, and then you can talk about the build-up of muscles, so microfiber tears in the muscles. As they're repaired, we start getting hypertrophy. So this is the way you want to approach a body pump question. Now, spinning and aerobics. So spinning has been asked before. Aerobics has not been asked before, but they both pretty much have the same outcome, so we'll keep these on the same slide. So spinning is a group exercise class where you're changing your intensities of cycling on an exercise bike. So the equipment is the exercise bike, and it's instructor led, and you're changing the intensities, and you generally follow different intensities with different elements of music. Whereas aerobics is again an instructor-led group exercise class, which is more physically moving around. It can have elements of some slight elements of dance in there, but jumping and various different sporting body weight exercises. And this is important to remember, it's body weight, so there's no equipment required. Various jumps, maybe some push-ups in there, burpees, depends on the activity. Now, they haven't ever asked a question on aerobics. They have on spinning, but the outcome is the same for both of them. So they both are focused on cardiovascular fitness or cardiovascular endurance. If an athlete is improving their aerobic capacity, that's the impact it's going to have on the performer. They're improved aerobic capacity, and therefore they can work harder for longer. They can resist fatigue. They can train harder. They can race quicker for a sustained period of time for longer. So just got to insert the activities, but using those sort of terminologies of the impact on performance. You could expand elements of the aerobic capacity and link in elements that you know about the respiratory system, so things like and the cardiovascular system, so things like increased red blood cells, maybe increased capillarization, and how that increases the oxygen getting to the working muscles, and therefore increasing respiration, so more energy is provided. Okay, and then finally we have yoga, and again, yoga has not been asked before on the exam board, but there are some basics of yoga that we need to address. So the focus of yoga is that it improves your flexibility and balance. Now, there is an element where it provides on the performer. Firstly, it improves their posture, their core strength, again, their muscular endurance, and their stretching, and improves their range of motion at a joint. So they're more flexible. But there is this element where it also improves the breathing and relaxation of the athlete. So there are different methods or different benefits to the athlete. Now, if you're talking about improved flexibility or posture, remember posture we talked about, more efficient movements. If you're talking about improved flexibility, well, one, that makes you more efficient, but also two, it makes you less susceptible to injury. The types of equipment you need for yoga is simply just mats again, so that's usually like a 1-mark question. But as I said, yoga has not turned up on the exam paper before. So that wraps it up. I told you it was a very quick 10-minute revision video, and when you come to your exam, very best of luck to you.